Welcome back to Clearly Off Topic. I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Juliet, and I'm drinking a margarita.
Yep, and Juliet can't talk today, so...
I can talk. I've had 3 sips of this margarita, and it's party time.
I already finished my margarita, so get on my level. Also,
Lindsay is like, her blood runs with tequila.
I love it. So we have a third person with us today. I know, shocker. Who would have thought?
I mean, I want to have a threesome with us, but I'm already here, so it's just a twosome, so meta, I don't know.
You're all over the place. I love it. We have Melina Charis visiting us today.
Woo-hoo,
and Melina is a blogger and a writer, and we're going to get into everything that she does. And pretty much I'm going to make her tell you, because...
She's our first guest.
Yeah, she's our
Yay!
first guest. So tell us if we do this bad. Actually, don't
No,
tell
don't.
us.
Shh, don't tell us. Tell us we're beautiful and great.
We are beautiful and great. But yeah, welcome, Melina. Welcome to our little
Clearly Off
podcast.
Topic.
Thank you. This is the first podcast I've ever been on too, so it's
Ooh.
also a first for me. I'm really excited to be here.
Double
This is
first.
pretty amazing.
Double first.
So yeah, how did you get started? You know, I don't know if I know any other bloggers
Yes.
who do this.
Yeah, I don't know any bloggers.
Yeah,
do
I just
don't
know you,
any
and I
bloggers.
like your blog. So
Thank you.
So tell us how you got involved in blogging.
Yes, I don't really know any bloggers either, which is kind of funny. I actually have followed blogs since maybe 2012, and I actually realized a little while ago that almost every recipe I cook is from blogs, and I'm like,
my God,
oh,
same,
yeah,
actually,
I didn't
yeah.
even realize that was a blog, but now this one blogger I love, Damn Delicious, I will shout her out.
Ooh.
She has a lot of good recipes. She now does blogging full time because her recipes are her blog just blew up and her recipes are really successful. So I followed blogs for maybe 7 years-ish. And I never thought about starting my own ever, even though I love writing. So I think that's really where my idea for blogging came about, was because I have just been on this journey with mental health. In 2014, right after graduating college, I developed really severe anxiety. I think just going through that transition of graduating, you know, not really knowing what I wanted to do with my life, my friends moving away, just becoming more independent. I feel like there were a lot of different life transitions happening, and I feel like that can bring up a lot of emotions. Yeah, it can bring up a lot.
But you're also not just any writer. You're not just this blogger out here who's like, I have a keyboard and fingers. You actually got your degree, right?
Yeah. Yes, I got my degree in English. That is true.
Yes.
So, yes.
She is well versed in the
That's
English.
true.
In the English.
So she's a blogger with good grammar.
With good grammar.
Exactly.
Because I think a lot of people in this world think, oh, I can be a podcaster because I can talk, or I can be a writer because I have a keyboard.
And thoughts.
And thoughts. And
Yes.
and although that is true, and I'm not stifling anyone's dreams of greatness.
Hey, listen,
and
we
all
have
that.
dreams of greatness right here.
Yeah,
okay?
but I mean, like, we also have background and things that can actually create good products. So you didn't just wake up and like, I'm going to write a blog. Like, you have background
Yes.
in literature.
Yes, literature.
We're very sophisticated here.
Yeah, I do. I have loved writing stories since I was really young. I always tell people this story, but my mom, I used to have her dictate or write down stories that I had in my head before I could even hold a pencil. So I love writing.
That's really cool.
That's like, I really love writing. I remember just, when I
She was a pre-pencil writer.
I was a pre-pencil writer. That's how
You've
much
been a verbal storyteller for quite some time.
Yes, exactly. And I think I'm less of a verbal storyteller. I'm more of a written storyteller.
But when you were little, like,
Yeah,
before
because
you
I
had to start.
You had the
I had to
stories.
start. I was like, I can't write, so I'm going to start now. And I had to get it out. And so writing was always my outlet when I was younger. I wrote a lot of poetry. I never really wrote longer stories. I kind of would get bored. So I think poetry really
Same.
worked for me.
Short
because,
attention
yeah,
span.
exactly. Short attention span. I love just quick, like I would set up these really quick vignettes with like a lot of just imagery. And so poetry I really liked it. I did actually write when I was younger, like books of poems. I still have them somewhere. And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God,
I will
I
not
need to
open
see
them.
these.
No, I'm like, nobody can see. My husband cannot see it. Nobody can see it. I won't even open it. But yeah, I used to write books of poems. So it was kind of like,
I will find them.
Do you remember at least like the first subject of one of the first of your poems? Because I remember the first song I wrote. I'm not a songwriter, but I remember
I wrote some songs too. I dabbled in that a little bit because songs are stories too, and I loved that.
And poems, if you think about it.
You know, yeah, it was just about life. It was always really about my life and just what I was going through. So when I was a teenager, it was like what teenagers are going through. You know, figuring out who they are and friends.
Angsty teen listening to
angsty
Taking Back Sunday.
Yeah, exactly.
From the heart, spewing your emotions out to anyone who doesn't listen.
Nobody listens.
So what was your first then? Because you were going through this big transformation, which I think a lot of people can relate to. I mean, I remember I had a whole transformation after college. I didn't do anything useful with it, like
no,
you did.
I did nothing useful. I'm here now, though, right? I was just angry at the world.
Just full of angst. So wait, nothing's changed. So, what was like your first blog post where you took that step?
Yeah, it was a long journey since then, and it took me years to figure out that I wanted to write a blog from there. So I started my blog last year in 2018. So it was 4 years of this journey I went on by myself before I could really share it. And I think that's important too, because I think there, especially in our culture of sharing, I see a lot of people and with like, you need to be vulnerable, you know, just like going through something and then immediately sharing about it. Yeah. I get how that can help you be vulnerable, but I also think there's power in stepping away and processing it on your own until you're ready to share. Yeah, and having knowledge, because I want to share things with people that I've like researched and that are helpful and that aren't just coming out of nowhere, and that I've really taken the time myself to think about, because I'm not professing to be like, I know everything, follow me. I'm just sharing my experience and things that have helped me to hopefully help other people. Yeah. But answering your question, so I developed this really debilitating anxiety, and I think a lot of that was because I've always been really afraid, like of the unknown. As a person with anxiety, I'm totally a control freak. Everybody who knows me knows this, and even recently, I'm still grappling with this. Like, I need timelines, and I'm like, that makes me feel comfortable. In this way. Yeah, I'm like, that makes me feel really comfortable. I always need to know what's my next step, and that really takes me out of the present. And you're never gonna know your next step. And I was like, I needed to know a next step just to have something, even if it's not the right thing. I just had to have something figured out. So I think that's where it started. And I've always been naturally more anxious and like worried about things, and just I tend to be more pessimistic. And so it's funny that all my poems now are like so positive, and
It is, but you know what? Like, that's what's it's almost like you've gone through this transformation, and the blog is like the blossoming flower out of this transformation, right? Like, because I'm the same way. I've been through a lot, and so now I have no problem sharing like what's helped me and what's pushed me forward. But if somebody my age was to ask me like, and who's going through the same struggles as me, like what I'm doing, I'd be like, I'm not going to give you good advice, man, because I'm pissed off that this person just did this today. And like, if you can't process through what you're going and then come out the other end, like what good is your spewing information to people? Yeah, you know? Exactly.
And I think also Instagram I really like. So the blog, I plan more in advance. I think through what I want to share. Instagram I really like. I actually am the complete opposite. I do it on the fly. Like, I don't schedule any of it. I tried kind of writing some of it in advance, because everyone tells bloggers like batch all the stuff and write in advance, and it really didn't feel authentic to me.
They tell podcasters to do that too. Yeah. Look at us. So.
Look at us doing an episode every week. I mean, I'm actually pretty impressed. For you listeners, this is for you.
Yeah, this is literally for you. Juliet and I are so busy, and we have managed to do this for 9 weeks in a row, and I'm stoked.
And we don't have any in the bank. You know, they tell you like, oh, do 10, and then start doing it every week, so you have in the bank. And Lindsay and I are like, we're superheroes. I don't think so.
We're just gonna do one every week, even though we're busy. But
that was like me too, though, with the blog. I just started it. I didn't. Yeah, and then I learned as I went, and I was like, oh, I'm supposed to do all this stuff. I should have had like 5 blog posts. I should have had this, and I just did it. I think that's great. Like,
and I think that like very authentic.
Yeah, it's super authentic, and that's what's so beautiful about your blog, is that you're sharing this journey, you're sharing this experience, and it really is like raw and real, and it's close enough in the past that you can look at it and be like, okay, I can see why I was thinking that way, but I can also, I'm happy with where I am now in comparison to then. Yeah,
exactly. But I'm still figuring this stuff out, and that's where I talk about that on my blog too, but also on my Instagram. Like, I definitely don't have it all figured out, and I talk about that in the blog, but I just,
nobody does.
Yeah, exactly.
Juliet and I were talking about this yesterday, where like when I figured out as an adult that no other adults had it figured out either. I was like, light bulb. Oh my God, my parents are still trying to figure out how to pay bills. So the fact that I'm struggling with this is totally fine. And Juliet was like, yeah, I had that aha moment like years ago. I'm like, great, thanks so much for sharing.
Well, it's both inspiring and
frustrating
because you realize that this is the way it is now. And like the whole idea you had of adulthood or being prepared, what you thought your goal was is actually something completely different because no one ever has it figured out. There's no end goal.
Yeah.
It is always a transformation, it's always a journey. And I do like when you speak from the heart and you say I'm not perfect. You say that I'm still working through these things. I don't have all the answers. Yeah. I personally, most people are like, Julia, you're such a little happy sunflower of everything, which is great. I'm glad I make people feel that way. I'm a super downer person. But I find inspiration in the down moments. So like when things are depressing and things are upsetting and I've been riddled with anxiety or I'm frightened about something, I find inspiration from that. And so when I hear people, like especially with your blog, when you're like, this is me right now, I'm like, yes, so much more so than when, I don't know, I was reading like Lauren Conrad and she's like, everything is perfect. And I was like, my life sucks, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
Because that's not motivating to me.
No, exactly. And I think another part of adulthood, besides realizing that no one hasn't figured out. Yeah, I'm realizing that as well. I think I was just listening to this other podcast, and she was talking about how, because I think in the personal development space that I'm in, it's a lot about like manifesting and goals and dreams, and I think that's also important. But then I was just listening to this podcast, and I cannot remember what it was, but she was talking about how she, it was a big life coach, and she has a podcast. Her name is Brooke Castillo. She's great, and she was just talking about how has all this success, she has all this money, like she really, all of her dreams have come true, and she's still only happy 50% of the time. She's like, no matter, your dreams just grow, and they change, and you're not happy with where you like would have been before, and you're never going to be happy 100% of the time, no matter how successful. Yes, your life can get more fulfilling, but you're never going to not have negative emotions. I love that so much. Like I really think that's really important. And for me, because a lot of my blog focuses on anxiety and how to manage it, I don't ever want to say like beat it or overcome it, really, because
it's always going to be there.
Yeah, it's not something you need to overcome. Like fear, especially when you're dreaming big and you're doing big things with your life, fear will be there. Anxiety will be there. You don't have to shove it away. You just need to okay, fear is here, anxiety is here. And then it moves through you so much faster than pushing and pushing and pushing. And that's what again, I'm still not perfect at this. I'm still learning that and working with it, but I am getting better at that. I think at like sitting with the uncertainty, not having a timeline, just to make my brain feel better.
It's the worst. It's the worst. But you're right. Like we have to find comfort in those negative emotions, in the fact that
they're motivating. Like they are motivating. If you're not afraid to die, you're not gonna live.
Exactly. Right? And they're so normal.
They're so normal.
We all have bad days, no matter how successful and
amazing. #no bad days.
But #no bad days on everything. Okay.
Yeah, that's not. And then we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but yeah, seeing people. That's why I am happy with there is more transparency, especially on Instagram. There is more authenticity. Like, people need to see that. That's so powerful when people who look successful, or I mean, really anybody, but especially people you admire, they say, like on this podcast, she has such a successful multi-billion-dollar business, and was like, I still have bad days. I still like
struggle to wake up sometimes. Yeah. Like there's a thing that's called smiling depression, and like sometimes the people around you who look the happiest are having the hardest time.
Yeah.
Like because there's people out there who are good at masking that and can settle it away in a little tiny box. But if you're not present with those emotions, you're not understanding why you're feeling a certain way, you're never going to be able to work through it. Whether it's like, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's anxiety, whether it's the end of a relationship, like no matter what the moment is, you have to know like, you have to be able to settle with that and think about it and process through it, or else it's just gonna be there in the corner little box in the pit of your stomach waiting to like be brought up.
Exactly.
And I love how that is also, and on your blog you do a lot of whole body wellness, a lot of whole person wellness.
Yeah.
That is embracing the whole person. It's not just embracing the person on their good days. It's not just embracing the person who's strong and confident and successful. It's embracing the person that you are when you're not.
Exactly.
And how that is you. You are all of these things, and all of those things are why you are the way you are. And looking at the full picture, when most people who I know and who we know in this world in America live a very privileged life.
Yes, we do.
This world is full of much bigger problems than us. And when we just take a look at our situation, not in comparison, because you cannot compare pain, but just comparing yourself to your previous self and realizing as a whole person, where am I now in my journey? And just taking and having that whole person wellness, I think, is a great thing, which you cover a lot in your blogs, which I love.
Yeah. So I wanted to actually ask you, because this is super interesting to me, because there's so many fitness bloggers, there's so many food bloggers, there's so many people who are out there like, I'm a blogger, this is my niche, and this is what I'm doing. And you have this niche of like personal development and anxiety control, but because you look at that as you're a whole being. Like, explain that to us, go through that, because I love what you've done.
Yeah, so when I did have this debilitating anxiety, I then was like, okay, this is new. How do I get better? How do I heal myself? Because I started teaching, and that's kind of where this came from. It was the wrong path for me. It's a very difficult job. It's a lot of hours. I had no time to take care of myself, eat healthy, exercise. I probably didn't exercise for 6 months to a year at all. Like, at all. I didn't have time. I remember my mom telling me, like, you need to exercise. And I was like, I don't have time, really.
Yeah, when do you want me to do that?
Yeah, so that's
not... spare time between 2 and 4 in the morning.
Nobody should live like that, though. And it was my first year teaching, and there was a lot that I was learning how to do. So I'm, being compassionate for myself. But it just... like, I couldn't live that life anymore. And so after a year and a half, I quit, which was very terrifying also. But then I had a little bit of time off, actually. And I literally had started teaching like weeks after I graduated college. And I'm an overachiever. I like took all the classes and I did all the things. So I didn't have a break at all. And so finally when I quit teaching, I was going to graduate school, but I had about 6 to 8 months, and I was working from home a little bit, but like part-time, and I was really lucky that I was able to do that for sure.
Yeah.
But that was when I really got serious about how do I heal myself and how do I get well. And for me, a big part of that is mindfulness and meditation. I think that was the first thing that really helped. And then it
meditation.
and then it was, okay, I have more time to cook, like learning about healthy foods. And I'm definitely not a proponent of a specific diet, but like learning what foods didn't sit well with my body and just learning to tune into my own body and mind. I think that's where it comes from with the cook, because all the cooking and the fitness is so important. Yeah. But you need to tune in, and it looks different for everyone. I think that's what's difficult with these like food bloggers and fitness is like, you may not need to work out at that type of workout. You may not need to work out that many times a week. You may not need to be vegan. Like, you may not, that's my issue. It's really, you need to figure out what you need, and you have to turn inward and figure that out. So yeah, it's really a combination of everything, your relationships, your financial situation. I mean, it's all. I'm very big about looking at all of it and how that leads into your whole wellness and mental health. It all goes together.
It really does.
So what are some tips that you might have for someone who's listening to this and they're like, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
But they're still really lost. Is there like a top, doesn't have to be a certain number, like a top 3 or 5 or some tips you go to right away? Or what helped you?
Yeah, my first one's definitely meditation and mindfulness. Well, let me back up. Okay, actually, my first one is, and I just wrote a blog post about this, is about the importance of self-awareness. So I think I loved this one. Thank you. If you are not tuning into yourself and like learning about yourself, it's hard to move forward. So I went to therapy in that time.
Yep.
Therapy is really big.
I'm a big proponent of therapy.
Yes,
therapy. If you've never been and you're scared, that's because you need to go.
We should have a whole talk about this and how I did not like my therapist, but I gave it a really good try.
I didn't like mine either. That's definitely an issue.
Mine's awesome. Listen, I'll give you
Also, my parents are therapists. I just talked about this with my mom and stepdad. That really... And on top of going to therapy, that really gave me a very solid foundation growing up, because they were both so self-aware, so emotionally mature. So they modeled that for me. So I grew up luckily having that, but for someone that hasn't, like finding a good relationship that can help. And my husband is amazing at helping me see some of my patterns in a really loving way. Like finding a good relationship, going to a therapist, like getting a coach, like even reading books. I love personal development. Yeah, self-help books.
And people sit there and make fun of self-help books all the time, but I read so many of them, and like sometimes they're just mood lifting. Sometimes it's like, you know what? I'm gonna punch tomorrow in the face.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're right. I got it. Like I'm a badass. I can figure this out. Yeah. And like it's so important to turn to all those stupid things that people make fun of in the ether.
Yes.
Like definitely don't listen to Creed and Nickelback, but you know, you could read some self-help books. That's okay.
Yeah, exactly. That has helped me so much, all of that. So I think starting there, tuning into who you are and just being curious about yourself. What are your patterns? What are your triggers? What, just anything you can really learn about yourself, I think. And getting curious is the place to start. And then for me, what really helped me hands down the most was mindfulness and meditation. And I know meditation is also, it's
super scary,
confusing. What, I have to sit by myself, like no distractions. And I'm, again, not perfect at this. Sometimes I meditate every day. Sometimes I don't meditate for weeks. Like it's not a perfect thing that you have to, if it's just becoming another thing on your to-do list, you're not getting what you need to out of it. But for me, just learning how to sit with myself, and there's so many good guided meditations. I also have a bunch of blog posts about my favorite apps for guided meditations. I personally don't usually use guided meditations, but there's this one app I really love, my friend told me about, called Insight Timer. And they have guided and non-guided, but I really like it because it'll give you like little bells to kind of tell you when, where you're at, and you can set a timer for however many minutes.
That's good.
So I use that one usually. Yeah, bells are nice.
Backing up to a little bit to mindfulness, because I'm aware of what that is. Juliet is too, but like in case our listeners aren't, what do you mean as far as mindfulness?
There's a lot of definitions of mindfulness out there, but one of my favorites is just putting your conscious attention in the present moment.
So like starting with
why am I feeling this way?
Yeah, what's my breathing like? Like, what is that?
Yeah, not even why am I feeling this way. Even starting with something simple like what feelings are coming up in my body, and how is my breathing? But even more simple than that is like, what sounds am I hearing? Like starting with the five senses. How does my, leg feel against this couch? Like, I know it sounds really weird, but that's how I usually start my meditations, is with deep breathing. And then I usually have the window open, and I always have this thought, because I live luckily near a couple trees and there's birds, and I hear the birds, and I'm like, this is the only time of my day, maybe even a week, that I have actually paid attention to the birds, and I can hear the birds, and it really is calming for me. And so that's as simple as it has to be. If that's all you want to do, just close your eyes. You can sit or you can lay down and just breathe and just pay attention to your breathing. And if thoughts come up, that's fine. Like, again, I think there's this idea that
like you're just clear-headed the whole
you're
time,
just
and
zen,
you're not.
you have no thoughts.
Who has time for that?
The Dalai Lama. He's like the only one who probably can meditate correctly, and that's because he's like many generations old.
Yes, exactly. And I really agree. Like, mindfulness is about being aware of what's going on in the present moment. So like, I use mindfulness a lot because my family has a tendency to overreact to everything, and like that has driven itself right down into me. And so today I had a bad moment at work, and I was able to sit there and be like, okay, I was about to walk into my boss's office and say all of these things, and this is why I was going to do that, and this is now why I'm not going to do that. And so like, for me, it's a big like keeping the boiling pot just at simmering, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And because you just have to be mindful of why you're feeling places, why, like, what's going on around you, how is it affecting you, how are you affecting other people, and empathy is a big part of mindfulness, and I think that's a hard part for people, right?
And people, you touched on something so good, Lindsay, where you said, how am I feeling and the situations around me? Because I think a lot of people who are not mindful think all of this stuff is happening to me. I'm anxious because of this person and this situation. I'm angry because of this person's situation. I'm sad because of this. No, you're reacting in this way on purpose. You are presented with something, and you are making a conscious choice to be mad, sad, happy, glad, frustrated, anxious.
But if you're not mindful, is that a conscious choice?
That's what I'm saying. People don't realize it, but it's more like conditioning and training at that point.
Yeah.
You're trained to just react, as opposed to realizing what's happening, seeing it for yourself, pulling back, seeing the big picture, and then reacting the way you want to.
Exactly. Not making yourself
easier
look like
said
a
than
fool.
done, guys. It's not like I got to figure it out.
I am a boiling pot all the time. You can ask my husband.
Oh, I am
ask
too.
Juliet. Honestly, we've been keeping this from you. Melina's our very good friend. It's funny because
we know her.
But no, this entire time, like we've watched her through this whole transformation, and I knew her when she took her first teaching job. I knew her before she graduated college, and I've been through a lot of the same things, like very different. Obviously, like I'm not a teacher. Don't ask me to teach you anything. I'm terrible at math. But everybody goes through it in their own way, and I just think it's like your story is so amazing because you are the person that I never thought would take a leap of faith. And like you took the biggest fucking leap of faith of all time.
That's so sweet.
Because she did. Like Melina is like she wanted to do it all, and I honestly thought she was going to be a teacher until the day she died.
And because you're so calculated and controlled that you go to college, this is my job, this is my thing.
Oh, yeah.
So for you to break out, it was a huge self-transformation, like a beautiful butterfly.
It was a beautiful butterfly,
absolutely.
the metamorphosis.
Yeah, that's how it felt. Really, that's how it felt to me too. It's
Awesome.
Yeah. So for the first time, I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm really enjoying. I love all this stuff. I could talk about this stuff forever. I love writing about it. I love talking about it. Like I talk to people about this all the time. I love reading about it. So just to be able to write this down, because writing it down helps me process it too. You know, I love reflecting. But then at the end of the year, because I started my blog in September, I wrote kind of a end of the year reflection, and that's a really great. I mean, I love sharing that with people, but that's a really great way for me to process this stuff too. So I feel so lucky that I get to do it.
I mean, it is a very lucky thing that you've taken that step and then stuck with it too, and that's just because you're so structured.
Yeah, that's the good part. About being structured.
I'm not structured. Juliet, are you structured?
I'm very structured.
Juliet's the A personality here.
Yeah, and I'm I heard they die earlier. It's not great.
Yeah.
No, neither of you can die.
Too much stress. Read my blog.
So I guess that's a good point. What motivates you, inspires you, and what is your process for each blog post?
That's a great question. What motivates me and inspires me? Well, funnily enough, so before I started my blog, I had no idea. As I mentioned, I had kind of followed other blogs, but I had no idea that these type of blogs even existed. So just starting my blog and then starting my Instagram account for the blog, I found so many people and podcasts and like Instagram accounts that have happy art and like poetry, and and that's when where the inspirational poetry that I write too came about, because that didn't start with the blog. That was one of my other amazing friends. Again, amazing friends in your life, very helpful.
Yes.
Who kind of prodded me because I said, I'm writing the blog, I'm so happy I'm writing again. And she said, well, didn't you used to write like creative writing and poetry? I was like, yeah, but like the blog, and she was like, well, but why don't you do that? And I'm like, yeah, maybe. Yeah, I never thought about it. Great point. And then, because I never had thought about putting together my two passions, which are really like well-being, personal growth, and creative writing, poetry. Because I was like, what am I going to write poetry about? And then it all just kind of, I like opened the door and I said, I'll try. And I've just ever since been writing. I don't write, like, it's not like I write poems every day, but a lot of poems just started coming out. And so I put them on my Instagram too. What was the question? What inspires me?
What inspires you?
I think just a lot of the people that I have connected with since starting the blog. So again, if there's something you're thinking of starting, or because as Lindsay and Juliet said, like it was definitely a big leap. It's scary to share this very personal stuff about your story online and in podcasts and things like that. So if you haven't ever done that before, I think it's easy to just be like, well, these people are just, they're fine with that. Yeah. And it's like, no, everybody, I was really nervous, but the more you do it and the positive feedback that you get, I think the easier it gets, and when you see that people are actually resonating with it. So I'm trying to think of like specific accounts that inspire me. Stacey Swift is a really good one. She does like inspirational art. Layla Delia, I love her. She does amazing inspirational poetry. My friend Sydney, she does a podcast called Seek the Joy. Great podcast. I actually connected with her randomly through Instagram. I was like, I love your podcast, I love your Instagram, and then we met up and like are now friends IRL, which is awesome.
That's really cool.
We love friendships in real life.
Yes.
Those are our favorite.
Yeah, so don't be afraid. Also, if someone is inspiring you, reach out to them, send them a direct message. Oh my gosh, it makes our day.
You're not bothering them.
You're not bothering them. No,
like that's why they do it. You do things in this world to get a reaction. Everything you do to get a reaction. So yes, they would like a reaction from you.
Yeah.
I was going to touch on you mentioned that you took this step, you opened the door, and then everything started coming to you, even though you were afraid. And so I always think of life. And this is just me getting really woo-woo. Ready? Okay.
So, those are my favorite.
When you if you're on a beach, right, and you stay on the sand, you're never gonna get wet. But as soon as you go out and you put yourself at the line of the water, the wave is eventually gonna hit you, right? And so if you're putting yourself in a space that is a blogger space or a creative space or an artist space or a business space, you are going to get hit by those waves because you are in that current. If you don't put yourself there,
if you don't put yourself
you're never gonna get that same interaction. And it's not even, don't worry about being put in the current. Like when you go to see the wave, you're not worried about like, oh, am I gonna get wet? Yeah, you're on the wet sand. You're gonna freaking get wet. So like
might take a few hours, but it'll come.
But it's people worry like, oh, I can't write a book because I don't know what I'd write about, or I can't start a podcast because what would I talk about? As soon as you put yourself in that space,
you'll figure it out.
It starts coming because you're in the space. Like, like attracts like, and it's like those videos. Did I talk about this before? Those videos where you watch the thing and it's like, now how many bears are in this video, and you watch it and you're like, there's one bear.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, where's the flamingo? And I'm like, there wasn't a flamingo. Right?
Yeah.
Juliet hates those things. But she always sends
I hate
them.
love them, but it's so true because if you're not looking for it, you don't see it. So as soon as you begin looking for it, it will present itself to you because it was there the whole time.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, and what's so cool about your blog is that you're really like, there's no like manual you need to buy, and like this is something that you're really sharing. Like this is so about each individual person. Everyone's going to be different, and this is just what's helped you and like what's guided you in these last couple of years of figuring out what you're going to do and how you're going to like put yourself out into the world. And so many people struggle with that, young and old. Like my mom had a career change when she was really late in life, and it scared the absolute daylights out of her. But now she's working for an amazing nonprofit, and she loves what she does. And it was this scary leap of faith that led to something that was so much more beautiful than what she had before.
Yeah, and I think another thing that stops people from making that leap of faith is, well, there's a million people doing this. And I have that too. Like, well, but everyone already did a podcast about this. Or listen, there are so many blogs that are so similar to mine, but I always try to remember, only you have your story. Only you can tell your story the way that you can. And people need that message from different people. People resonate with different ways of storytelling and different people's stories. And even though it might be similar, it's unique. So if you're like, well, I'm afraid to do it, and people might judge me, and everyone's doing it before, it's like, just do it.
Yeah, but nobody really cares, like nobody's worried that like, oh my God, you stole my idea. Or like, how many rap albums are out there? There's a new rapper every 10 minutes. True. Like you need it. Like, especially in this world of like content, like we have so much content at our fingertips, but we have so much because we consume so much.
Yes.
Like our generation is consuming so much content. If you have something to put out there, you have a story to put that out there, you have something to say it,
It's also why you're doing it. You started this because you almost had to. You were going through this transformation. What was the next step? You were in a situation where you kind of had lost control. You couldn't not do it. And you didn't do it for fame or money or any of those things. You did it because it was from the heart. So I think when you do things that way, the authenticity shines through. So if you're sitting there being like, how can I make money on this? And I can't do food because there's too many food. You're looking at it from the wrong perspective.
You're not doing it because you want to do it. You're doing it because you're trying to find something to do.
And then it's not going to, well, I'm not going to say it's not going to work out, but it probably won't work out for you. There's also, though, people like me who will tell you when I dislike things about what you're doing.
Juliet's the worst commenter. Juliet will comment
but I
all
love
the things.
you. I just want you to fix it. So I guess, how do you deal with people like me sometimes?
Yeah, so it's really
negative commenters.
I just want you to be better.
First of all, what you're going to say is not everybody's thing. Again, just like I said, like you could be certain people's thing, you could not be certain people's thing. But when you're putting yourself out there in a creative way, it's your heart and soul, right? It's really connected to who you are. It's like also, as we mentioned, really terrifying. So of course you're like, what if I get negative comments? What if people make fun of me? What if people don't understand? And I think that goes back to your self-love, your self-worth, like just remembering why you're doing this. And of course it's going to hurt, but not to let that, if you're really standing, again, woo-woo, I'm a very woo-woo person, but if you're standing in your truth, you have to just, again, like anxiety and like negative feelings, it comes up, of course it's going to hurt, but don't push it away. Don't make it worse, you know, just let it pass. It'll pass. You're not going to die. You'll be okay, you know?
Have you gotten negative comments?
Yeah, I've gotten a few. Like,
assholes,
I mean, not anything super bad, honestly.
We will cut you.
No, not.
And then Juliet will leave you a negative comment.
I will.
This is kind of funny, but I'm almost like, I need like a really bad one to like, I'm almost like waiting for it. I'm like, that's going to be my real initiation. Because I've definitely gotten a few people that have like made fun of it, or, you know, and I get it, like self-help, personal development, inspirational poetry. There's tons that can be made fun of. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, if people want to make fun of it, that's more a reflection of them than me. I don't need to take that as I'm a bad poet, or what I'm saying doesn't matter. It's much more a reflection of them. And people can make fun of everything. And I know it's easier said than done, of course. Like, it's very difficult. It can be very difficult. And again, I haven't gotten like a super mean one, super juicy one yet. But I know one day, and that's the other thing, like every level you get to, if I ever did get more known, that would for sure happen. Every person that's known has to deal with that stuff.
And every business has bad reviews.
Yep, exactly.
If a business is all 5-star reviews, you better be looking into who's commenting, because they're not real customers. Like, I work in marketing, and we go into companies and we look at what they're doing and why they're getting these reviews, and they're always so worried about that one. And I'm like, it's one. Like, look at your 200 other reviews that are 3 stars or above, or 4 stars or above, or whatever. So I mean, taking those negative comments and just being like, sitting with it, being mindful about like where that person could be. That's is also a really big, like, because people who hurt people hurt people.
Exactly.
And like, how many times do we hear that a day? But it's true. Like, the people who are hurting the most are the ones who lash out on others. So
that makes me truly sad. I think that's one of the saddest parts of the internet, is all the trolls and all the negativity that's out there, because it does stop people from putting themselves out there and sharing stories that we could otherwise hear. So the only thing we can do, we can't control the trolls.
Nope.
Can't control trolls.
Ross, do you hear that? We can't control you, and we know. Okay.
Exactly. Like, some of our friends are huge trolls. Which is good, because you know what? That prepares you.
Yeah.
But you can only control how you react to it. Like we mentioned earlier, I think that's another big thing.
Self-aware.
Hopefully you learn as an adult. Yeah, you become more self-aware. You learn. You do have these automatic reactions, but you can get better at, like Lindsay said, pausing, slowing down. I used to send so many angry texts, and my friends all know this. Like, they were like, Melina, like, what? You gotta stop. I just angry, and I'm like texting you immediately, and it's not good. So I like, okay, I'm gonna put my phone away for 2 hours, and I'm always calmer, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So just learning how to do that.
And that, I mean, that helps. I think most people can relate to that. Like, I've had job situations where I was treated like absolute shit, and I had all the right in the world to respond angrily, and literally just taking 30 minutes and saying, I'm not gonna let this bother me right now, I'm better than dealing with this right now. Sometimes even the person that's giving you the hate
comes back and they're like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to
I
say
never
that.
got an apology, but I got like a different email that was less aggressive, and I was like, this is a win, this is a win. Or they'll come back and apologize, because if you're getting something that's so full of hate and anger, a lot of times because they're not taking that minute to think, and so being the bigger person is so hard.
It's
so
very,
hard.
very difficult.
Like, always pays off. When have you ever been like, man, I should have reacted faster and more angry?
Never. Yeah, you learn the hard way. I've definitely, sometimes me getting angry at someone has made it then worse, where then like the original thing they did, and then they're mad at me because I reacted so badly. So I've had quite a few of those where I'm like, but you still, and I'm like, no, but I reacted so badly that now it really is, it's on both of us. But exactly, it turns back on you too. So I had to really examine that and be like, okay, I need to work on. And mindfulness really helps, and self-awareness, and learning what triggers you, because you're not hopefully going to react that way to every single thing. Right. But certain things, we just have these patterns.
And realizing you have power. Like, the way you said that, where you're like, I caused this to be bigger than the original situation. You have power there. The other person has power. It's a 50-50 power struggle. So if you all of a sudden take those amps down to 2,
they're like, wait, but I like my amps at 10. Juliet,
you can't.
My amps are at 10.
You can't have that. Eventually, one of you is going to calm down. Like, or both. Like, you're both going to come back down, and that's a level of respect to having it for your friends, or even for the trolls. Like, a certain level of human respect of like, I get you're going through something. Sorry.
This isn't about me.
It's not about me.
The way that people are reacting is about them.
Yeah, it is. It truly is. And they're mad because they, I mean, there's this, we've talked about the facade online where it's like everybody has it all together, and that's not true. And so negatively commenting at somebody who like online might seem like they have it all together can break them down even more because they didn't have it all together in the first place. And, especially on your blog, you're talking about personal development, and like all of the things that embody that and encompass that, and how your entire life has to be focused on progressing yourself in order for those small things like anxiety to be manageable. And I think that now it's a small thing in your life. Like anxiety is a smaller thing because you've like created this toolbox where you know how to deal with yourself, what you need. Like Melina's the queen of going home at the end of a party when she needs to go home. And like I don't have that gene. I'm like, okay, we can stay for 30 more minutes, and the next day I'm like exhausted.
I need a lot of sleep. You don't need as much sleep. I'm so jealous.
I don't know how I
need
this.
I need way too much. I wish I didn't.
If I don't get 8 hours, I'm a total.
Me too. It's so unfortunate.
Maybe this is why my pot is always at simmering, and I have to like keep it from coming to boiling. Maybe that's why I'm more reactionary. Because what's sleep? Who's that? Am I supposed to be friends with that person?
No.
Oh my gosh.
We don't know them.
Yeah.
We don't know them. That sleep guy. These bags under my eyes are designer. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Too many things going on.
Well, going back to your point about it's gotten smaller, yes, but what's been interesting is, it's like you can do all the things and be the healthiest version of yourself, and then something will just come up and it brings it more out of you. And then I think my first reaction when that kind of was happening was to be mad at myself.
Oh yeah, so frustrated,
and like
right?
blame myself. Why am I feeling this way again? I think because when you're in the earlier stages of it, you're like, I'm going to do all these things so like the anxiety's gone. It's eradicated. It's not coming back.
Oh, right. And it's not ever going to not come back.
No.
Maybe do you change it? Do you ever change it from, because when you said, it's less, I was like, is it maybe just less negative? You don't view your anxiety as negative. You just view it as now something that can be part of your arsenal of reactions?
Yes, I think that's true, but I think there's levels of anxiety, right? So I would say I have pretty high functioning anxiety, like at a normal level. Like most people, unless you knew me well, most people have anxiety. I mean, some people obviously have they're diagnosed. But then when I first realized I had it, and I also had struggled with depression as well, and this all runs in my family, it was really bad. Like I couldn't get out of bed. Like it was, so if you're at that level, like that's different than the kind of high functioning anxiety that I'm talking about. And if you're at that level, like please see a therapist. If you need to be on medication, luckily I never had to be, but some people really do. Yeah. And they can't, it's okay if you need to take medication. Okay. It's totally fine. And sometimes, the baths and the exercise is not going to work. Right. But I think if you have this high functioning level of it, that can really help. So I do think it's both. I think getting out of that really toxic workplace, because sometimes there's those bigger things and it was the completely wrong job for me, and it was a toxic workplace. I got out of that, and then the really bad anxiety kind of lessened, and now I do have it on a lesser basis. But then funnily enough, like starting my blog and kind of thinking about different paths and things I want to do in the future, which is going to involve a lot of scary things and uncertainty and putting myself out there and doing things I've never done, has been bringing it back up. And it's really interesting. But it never goes away. It's definitely something I'm fighting a lot less, and it's something that I'm embracing more, which I think really helps.
Yeah,
it's so brave, and just so, like, thank you for sharing, like being so vulnerable and for sharing, because it's something that needs to be heard, and it's great.
Of course.
Yeah, it really is. Her blog is just so authentic and so to the point, and like so beautifully written.
Thank
and like
you.
I'm not
really,
just saying
really
that
well
because I
written.
like you as
It's
a person.
really well written, guys.
It's really well written, guys. Like no grammatical errors. One time I actually called up Melina. I was like, I think you meant this word, and she goes, nope, that's an actual word. And I was like, just kidding.
That was so funny. That was so funny.
I was like trying to help you out.
I was like, I love you, Lynn. Thanks for having my back.
It's why I can't be a blogger.
Terrible. She's like, no, that's a word. I'm like,
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna put that one in my pocket for later. Look that one up.
Thank you, though. Yeah. It's I'm really glad, because it is combining a lot of my passions. I love writing, and it challenges me to do it regularly, because what happened to me in high school and college was I just let that fashion completely go. I was like, I don't have time. I need to be serious. I need to figure out, I need to get into college and figure out what I'm doing. And
Very serious Melina.
Very serious me.
College Melina, very serious.
Yes. I had fun.
She was very serious.
Silence. Right here.
Silence.
Steve helped me have fun.
He did.
He made you have fun.
Yeah, the Steve Yang headbang experience. You guys will all be there someday.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, so it's been really nice to have writing as a regular part of my life again, and that I get to do things like this. I mean, if I hadn't started the blog, I wouldn't be getting to share my story on podcasts, and I'm just so happy I get to share it, and I'm really hoping it helps people as well.
Absolutely. It does. It helps me. Even if it's like just a reminder. Like sometimes it's just hard to sit in my emotions and be like, ugh, this person's pissing me off, or oh my god, I'm so busy, or oh my god, I'm so stressed out, and like all these things will bubble up, and you know, then I get the little notification that your blog post happened, or I get the little email, and it's like, you know what, she's right. Like sometimes it's just about settling down, taking a couple minutes for yourself, and like breathing it out or feeling out what's happening, and like, thank you for sharing this with the entire world.
Yeah, thanks for reading.
If people need to get these little notifications and such, how can they find you? What's the best way to follow you?
You can, I think the best way right now, since my website is under construction at the moment, is my Instagram. So my Instagram is at Melina Charis. MElinaCharis, just my name. And then that will have my website on it. So you can go there and you can sign up for my newsletter where I do send the blog posts every week and other fun stuff. So that's where you can find me.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I hope you all go check it out right now because obviously if you've been listening for the whole last 40 minutes, it's pretty freaking amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
And if you need help.
And we all need these tools, right? Like I know Juliet and I need them.
Yes.
So
that's why we're friends with Melina.
Yeah. we're like Melina, help us through our lives. I'm having a lot of feelings right now. I need you to talk to me about them.
Yeah. And I think it's worth noting too that I'm going to speak for Melina right now, but I'll speak for us first. You know, if you guys are ever having issues and you're like, I don't have friends or I don't have people to listen to me, reach out to us for realsies. We're very reachable. And
we also don't use word like realsies on the reg, so don't worry.
I do. But Melina, I'm sure is also
please reach out to me. I would be happy to talk to you about anything.
Absolutely,
we're real people with real feelings and emotions, and I have a fuck ton of empathy, and so do you too.
I think that a lot of like self-awareness for me comes out in empathy and realizing where other people are. So I mean, if you're in a tough circumstance and you just need somebody to talk to, we're all three here.
Yep.
So you guys know where to find us. Definitely make sure to follow us at Clearly Off Topic on Instagram. If you go to that page, our personal pages are linked up as well. The website is literally going to be released on Friday.
Yay!
So Lindsay's working on it. She's doing a great job.
I've been
so excited
re-listening to all of our podcasts to take show notes because we didn't do that originally.
We are super professional.
Authentic. This is real.
But so that by the time you guys are listening to this, that will be up and ready to go. So go there to get all of our show notes, to see weird photos of Juliet and I, whatever you want.
But like and subscribe and love us, and the same with Miss Melina Charis.
So please check out Melina's blog. Please like and review us on all of the places, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right. This has been Clearly Off Topic with Juliet
and Lindsay
and Melina.
Bye.
Bye.